Hi, welcome back to Fresh Faces, No Ideas. My name is David. If you're new to the channel and you like the content that I produce and want to keep up with more of it, please follow me on this channel, like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about gas prices. Gas prices are rising for a whole plethora of reasons, most of them not having to do with the president. There is, of course, the argument, he canceled the Keystone Pipeline, but how much that impacts it is probably minuscule in comparison to the fact that nobody was going anywhere for a year. During the pandemic, or right before it started, the gas prices, remember, it cost more to buy the barrel of oil than the actual oil in the barrel. So that's why gas prices are rising. And even if they're rising, they're not rising to super high levels. They're not even back to where they were pre-pandemic. Part of the reason they're rising is more people are driving. The other reason they're rising is because of this colonial hack. So let's take a look at this colonial hack and talk about it. So, what happened to the Colonial Pipeline? Colonial Pipeline, the operator of the country's largest fuel pipeline, halted all operations over the weekend, forcing what companies call the precautionary shutdown. So what happened was this massive pipeline that produces like 47% of gas for the eastern seaboard got hit by ransomware and had to shut down. So this happened over the weekend, and they think that by the end of the week, they're going to be up and running and everything is going to be fine. So there's no immediate shortfall. However, gas has jumped up 8 cents due to it, and it's expected to climb a little bit. So the way that this works is hackers go into their systems and they scramble all their data, and you need these encryption keys that only they have. So they say, okay, you have to pass this, or we're not going to unscript your or take the data out of your programming. Now, the problem with this is that we don't know enough about how they got in. So one of the issues that we have is cybersecurity. And this is both on a national and on a state level, and it's on a national level, and it's on a private level. So because we have privatized so much of our energy system and things, these companies haven't decided to make sure that they're protected in the ways that they should be. So what they do is they figure that the loss for however much they lose on this, because it costs them to pay this bribe, is not going to be so bad as they can just say to the federal government, look, we need more money in order to keep functioning, and they will just give them money. And they do this because they bought the government. This is why it's been so hard to move away from fossil fuels. This is why companies like PG&E in California don't change how their lines are. So instead of putting their lines underground where they're safer, they keep them above ground because it costs less for them to pay whatever the fines are when they start forest fires than for them to put them underground. So part of this is a structural issue that these companies know that we're going to just throw billions and billions of dollars at them as long as they need it. And they don't have to put the money into the infrastructure that they have because they know, well, we're going to have all of our gains either way, and should we have any losses, the government is going to cover us. So this is a problem. So how are we dealing with this in the immediate response? So the Environmental Protection Agency issued an emergency fuel waiver aimed at easing fuel shortages caused by the shutdown. EPA minister cited extreme and unusual fuel circumstances. So what this means is they're going to allow certain different trucks to drive either more, or certain trucks that weren't supposed to carry this gas anyway to drive it. And then they might bring ships in. And then as things change, they will see how much more they have to get involved in this. Now, let's be clear about something. What happened here is not on the Biden administration. Because let's separate two things here. There is a government. The federal government oversees everything. That's what Biden oversees. Then there's state governments, and then there's private companies that have their own infrastructure. because we don't have a national regulation that forces these companies to have a set defense for this, or they have to put a certain amount of energy into defending it at a certain level, because, and despite how outsized their influence on the country is, like based on just the energy grid, they don't really look into this. So this, what happens is, we don't know how they got in. Because when companies have these type of issues, they don't want to say it because it's embarrassing for them to have said, oh, look, we just got hacked by X, Y, and Z, and now our thing is down. So they do this. As we know, in the 2016 election, the Russian government got into every single state's voter registration. They didn't change any of the tallies, but they got into every single one of them. So what needs to be done is a larger focus on cybersecurity. And this is not just for states and private companies. For those of you who aren't aware, there's this thing called the SolarWinds hack. It was the largest government hack in the history of the world. And it got into the DHS acting secretary's emails. Not a peep from the Trump administration. They didn't respond to it. They didn't attempt to do anything about it. They basically tried to cover it up. This hack wasn't even figured out by the government. Microsoft was the one who figured it out. So, what did we learn? We learned that gas prices might potentially go up a little bit. I think it said in the article it's somewhere between about 9 or 10 cents, maybe at the maximum, depending on how long this shutdown lasts. The company says they'll be up by Friday. We'll see. I don't know how they can get it done faster. But the real issue is we have to strengthen our infrastructure to these type of attacks. Because just because we can go after Moscow or China with these type of attacks doesn't mean other people can't do the same thing to us. Whether it's our energy grid, whether it's our hospitals. Because that's part of the problem. Some of these places that get attacked are hospitals. So like if you're going after a government agency and you just want to leak documents because you're arguing that they're hiding something, or if you're going to go after an energy grid, say, look, here's where your issues are, and then we're going to show you where they are, but not shut things down, that's different. But when you're going after hospitals and shutting down power to hospitals, or you're shutting down like almost the Eastern Seaboard, you're causing people's actual lives to be in risk and in danger. So the answer to this is putting more infrastructure. And let's be clear. From the 2016 to 2020, there were bills proposed in order to strengthen election security, actual election security for cyber information and for the actual databases in the states. Republicans shut them down every single time. So when you hear Republicans say we care about election security, remember, they didn't actually want to put the money in to protect the elections. They're just making things up. So, final thoughts. This is not on Biden. This is not comparable to the SolarWinds hack, which was actually the federal government. So when you hear people like Charlie Kirk say that, oh, this would never have happened under Trump, it happened under Trump. Exactly under Trump. And these things aren't even comparable because one of them is the actual government and the other one's a private company. And the other is we need to look into the financing that we give these companies. Because if we're giving them all this money and they're just throwing it at their CEOs and not actually using it for some type of protection for themselves so these type of issues don't keep cropping up, then we're not solving any of these issues. And they're just going to keep cropping up as technology becomes more advanced, as these hackers become more intricate, as the web becomes more intricate. And the longer it takes us to upgrade our actual infrastructure, the worse we will be at handling this. So please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.